Welcome back to our post-race episode following the second round of the FIM Hard Enduro World Championship Silver Kings. We go into a bit more detail with what happened day by day at this race, and then we also cover a little bit about the new point system that was just released by the new promoters of the championship. I hope you enjoy this episode. Wow, what a race, hey T?
Yeah, that was very entertaining, and it really delivered exactly what we were hoping for.
Exactly, having all of those top riders in the world in one room in their press conference and then seeing them on the mountains, that was spectacular, and definitely worth all the time and effort following the event over the weekend.
Yeah, I agree. I think anyone who was following the event on social media and all the videos that were, available, it really was a battle between the US or the North American guys and the European guys.
I completely agree. And it was just non-stop battling. I think that's a word that James was mentioned inside our interview, that it's going to be a battle, and didn't disappoint.
Battle. It's going to be a battle.
Yeah, a lot of the riders, their feedback was that it was definitely a challenging race and they had to push the whole time.
Yeah. Let's get a bit into some of the nitty gritty. We now know a little bit more about the point system for the FIM Hard Enduro World Championship. Let's get into it. What is changed with the FIM Hard Enduro World Championship points standings?
Yeah, so things are looking a little bit different now after Silver Kings, mainly because there was an announcement to say that there is a new point system with regards to the FIM Hard Enduro World Championship. So let's speak about the old system first before we understand the new one. I think the biggest issue with the old system was mainly related to the multi-day events.
Yeah.
A lot of you could say the riders didn't really feel like they were being rewarded and recognized for the amount of work that was going into a multi-day event.
Yeah, for sure. I think that it makes complete sense because, for a race, let's say from last year, Romaniacs, 4 days of Carpathian Mountains, and you get scored the same amount of points as a Getson Rodeo race, which is 1 day multi-laps, basically 2 hours.
Exactly.
And that's where the problem lied inside the old system.
Yeah.
And the riders were pretty vocal about this, to be honest, in last year's championship. And I think that also takes into a little bit consideration why they keep on saying, the new promoters are more like they're listening a little bit more to the riders.
Yes. And I guess this is a great opportunity to bring about change, right? If there's a new promoter, the championship's in this transition phase, you could say. So this is the time that we should be seeing changes being made. So what has not changed are the individual single day events and prologues. So for an individual single day event, the main event, the top 15 riders will still qualify to get a maximum of 20 points. And there's still 3 points up for grabs where applicable for the prologues.
So 23 points in total for someone that goes 1 on prologue and then 1 on race day.
Yes, that's correct. That's not changed for the new system. But what has changed are the multi-day point systems.
Okay.
So we still have the overall results where the top 15 will get a maximum of 20 points for their positions. And then there's obviously still the prologue where applicable. So that hasn't changed for multi-day. But what has changed is now there are bonus points available. So for each off-road day, a maximum of 10 bonus points per day will be awarded to the top 10 finishers. So that means that, let's just say it is a 2-day event, like for example, Silver Kings. You can get up to 3 points for the prologue. For 2 off-road days, that means there's an extra 20 bonus points, 10 on each day, and then another 20 points available for the overall. So let's just say, for example, if you came first at prologue, first on off-road day 1 and day 2, and you came first overall, you can get a maximum of 40 to 43 points just for one racing weekend.
I was thinking about this a little bit just before this episode, and I think it definitely makes it more competitive.
Yes.
For those riders that are jostling consistently for position.
Yes.
But what this could do is it could, let's say, leapfrog a rider like Manny, which just tends to win everything at the moment, to an uncatchable lead, which is deservable. Like, I'm not saying that he doesn't deserve that, but you would truly see then on paper how far ahead someone like Manny actually can get.
Yes. You are actually 100% on the money. Later, we have a bit of a update on the point systems. And to be honest, you can already see that huge gap between first and second. Between second and all the way down, I would say it's pretty evenly distributed. But from first to second, there's already such a huge gap in the point standing. So what you are saying is actually coming to light already, and it's only been 2 rounds.
Yeah. But that said, though, the mid-pack or below first or below that breakout ride is going to be very hotly contested. And I think that's what we're looking for. Manny deserves to be in front because he is the fastest at the moment. So that's clear. So it's just I'm really stoked on it, to be honest. I think that there needs to be a change. There needs to be something from the new promoter that the organizers of the events, as well as the riders and sponsors, can sink their teeth into. And I think this is one change that is a positive one.
Yeah, I do agree. I think it's a good change. I think it recognizes, as they said, racing consistency. So let's see how it turns out, how the points kind of work out over the long run. But I do think that it does recognize riders who do have, good racing days and maybe don't get recognized for those good days.
Important to note here that this change in the point system only comes into effect on this race for Silver Kings, or for the first time for Silver Kings.
Yeah.
So Valley's Hard Enduro was the old point system, and now in Silver Kings they're going all new point system. Let's get into it. Let's see what actually went down at Silver Kings.
So the first thing that we really got out of Silver Kings was a press conference.
Yeah.
Which was really cool to see. I would say very similar setup to that of Erzberg. We saw pretty much all of the top riders, some US guys, North American guys, as well as our European riders, all kind of sitting at one table, kind of answering questions. I want to take the opportunity to shout out Max Gerston, because he did a fantastic job, getting those riders, answering some really good questions and some sharing really good insights into what their opinions are of these changes and being in the US and the prize money and everything that kind of revolved around this race.
Yeah, Max with the banging questions.
Right?
He did a good job answering some proper press questions that like a lot of us actually want to know and want to hear from the riders. So massive shout out to him. That was really, really, really well done.
Yes, I agree. So I want to point out some things that stood out to me from that press conference. I would say the first one was obviously Wade was asked about the money in the sport, and he made a really good comment. He said that being the best in the world and versus making money, those are two very different things, right? Making a living and being the best, it's not an equal ratio. There's not a balance between the two. So I think having, the prize money that the riders received, or that was available for riders at this event, was a really big step forward in the sport.
My key takeaway from that press conference, leading from your comment now with the prize money, is I truly think that prize money is important, but I don't think it's at the forefront of these top riders' minds.
Yes.
It's clear that all of them, they stated that, they are going to give 110% every time, no matter if it's 500 euro, 10,000 USD, whatever it is, they're still racing as hard as they possibly can. I think what the prize money does do, though, it really helps them continue that, because in the end of the day, that's what their job is to race a motorbike. And as long as they can continue making a living and hopefully make some money on it as well by racing a motorbike, then the goal is complete.
Yeah.
In my mind, none of them started riding hard enduro to become wealthy.
No.
It's not necessarily the career path that people take to be okay, that's how I'm going to become wealthy. That's how I'm going to make money. There's other motorsports for that.
You know what? It's funny because I think last year when we were speaking to the promoters and, I'm trying to understand the championship and what riders wanted, I truly believed that prize money was a big thing, actually. And now I'm starting to realize that actually, as you said, prize money, it is important. It sustains the sport. It
Yes.
attracts new people. Don't get me wrong. It is necessary to be rewarded for accomplishing something like that.
Yeah.
However, based off of that that press conference, a big thing that kind of was brought to light was coverage.
Yeah.
The biggest thing is there needs to be more coverage for the sport. There needs to be more media. There needs to be more videos, footage, understanding of what's actually going on in the sport. That's my biggest, takeaway was, Billy spoke about it, Manny spoke about it. It's getting content and coverage and bringing more eyes to the sport that seems to be almost more important now than necessarily the prize money.
I agree. It's it's an interesting time for the sports, and I think that it's definitely finding its feet. There's a lot of content. I mean, just within those last couple of races. I mean, from Valleys to this race, complete difference inside coverage.
True.
But it's also a little bit chaotic still at the moment, not consistent. Like there's not one place where you can go that gives you what you're looking for, and I mean, credit to all those guys get out there with their phones, cameras, making content on it, because that's what we need. But
Yes.
It's really tough to decipher, which one to go for, which one you want to watch. And we only have a limited amount of time, right?
Yes.
Like we can't just sit and watch YouTube for 5 hours a day,
That's true.
So it's difficult. Like I think that needs to be ironed out a bit, but really cool to see, basically what's going on, and just having that press conference, at least for me, was awesome.
Yes, I think it was a really great start to hopefully what we see is media moving forward in the sport of hard enduro.
Yeah, creating value
Exactly.
for the sport, and really cool to see that press conference.
Exactly. So let's get into racing, really. So we start off on the prologue day. Honestly, straight up, Mitch won prologue. He did such a solid, performance there. Everyone was stoked to see how well he did. Billy was doing well, but I had some bike issues. Overall, I think Mitch really set a good pace and put himself in a good spot for the race on that prologue day. And obviously Manny also did a fantastic job. We saw some footage of his riding and he had such clean runs. So prologue was a really solid start to the race. But I really want to get more into the racing days.
I can't help but think that after watching prologue, Mitch is a definite force to be reckoned with. This guy is definitely taking the bull by its horns and taking what he's got from X-Grip and making it work. And it's clear that this guy is going to be, I don't know, I mean, we'll even look at championship standings a little bit later and a bit of controversy actually around that. But he's taking it to the boys, to the guys that we thought had him covered.
Yeah, I don't think that the US trip was necessarily an easy trip, especially for the team itself, but for them to go out there in the way that he performed, not only in prologue, but just over the weekend, it was 100% worth the effort that they put in.
Yeah. So race day 1, or the mountain race.
Yeah, so that was kind of race day 1, but the actual mountain race or the long loop race was off-road day 1. So that was on the Friday. So obviously we can speak about a couple of the different riders. First off, we have Tristan. He had a bit of a slow start. He competed a lot against Billy, who he said made some really risky passes. He said he wasn't willing to risk his life on off-road day 1, but apparently Billy was.
Yeah, but in true Billy fashion, eh?
Yeah, and I don't think Billy necessarily had the best day actually on that first off-road day. He made a comment about how there was a really technical rock section or a riverbed, and he fell over. I think he squished his pinky finger, so he injured his finger, and it was really tough racing. There was a lot of competition. I mean, the battle for first within that day was pretty intense. I mean, the amount of riders who were battling and all together was very competitive, and it was kind of the racing that you want to see, really.
Yeah, exactly. Some shout outs and notables there for me. Just watching some of those US riders coming up. Also having Cody Webb on the 4-stroke, barking that big bore 250 out there. That was pretty cool to see and looked like a lot of work, to be fair.
Yeah. Definitely not like an easy ride for him, right?
No, yeah. And I mean, I think it's the first time that he actually tested that bike or rode that bike in such conditions. So probably some things to work on. And I saw some modifications with those lithium-ion batteries strapped behind the number board, trying to get extra fan and extra cooling for that big 4-stroke motor.
I think you actually had a good point on that last, on the hill climb, I think it was. He actually overheated, so you had to like stop the bike, let it cool down for a bit. So he lost a bit of time on that last or that first off-road day, but definitely a work in progress, and cool to see someone. I mean, obviously we know that Johnny is riding the 4-stroke, but cool to see him testing out new things and really pushing the boundaries with this in hard enduro.
Yeah, I agree. It doesn't seem like it's there just yet, but I don't know. It could be something to look forward to in the future.
I think it was an interesting comment that Billy made in the press conference, that he doesn't believe that this battle between 2-stroke and 4-stroke is a valid like battle. He says that he believes, that both bikes are capable of doing hard enduro and both can perform. So in his mind, it's not really a competition between the two, but I guess it's just who's willing to take that leap of faith and commitment to really bring a 4-stroke to hard enduro.
To dive a little bit deeper into this, I'm just thinking back to, I think it was 2012 when Graham Jarvis and Chris Birch actually both rode 4-strokes in the Roof of Africa. Graham Jarvis on an FE250, Chris Birch on a 350 KTM, and really interesting to see them go out and muscle those bikes around inside the Roof of Africa. I think it plays a little bit into a stronger suit for those races, because in quote unquote, after speaking to Birchie about it, he said it's not as technical as other races, so the bike doesn't seem to overheat as quickly. But we saw that era of resurgence of 4-stroke coming back and then kind of die away, and now we're starting to see it come back slowly, but it's the stakes are high with the 2-strokes are so good at the moment. So
that is true. It's cool to see things changing a little bit, It's cool to see the sport moving forward, people kind of pushing the boundaries a little bit, just, something different.
Yeah, I agree.
So anything else from for the first off-road day? I would say, the perfect mix of Euro and US riders within that top 15. And, I would say also those rocks in that terrain looked very much like Erzberg. Like a mini version of Erzberg.
It did. I think a little bit smaller when it comes to rock size.
Oh, no, 100%. It's not the size of a car. It's like,
no.
The size of a big rock. But
And also another note, I think very dry conditions. So I think in a wet condition or in a wet situation, it would be a lot closer. But good analogy there.
So let's go into off-road race day 2. So by far...
Before we get into that, do you mind, where did everyone finish on race day 1?
Okay, great question. So I can give you the results for the FIM riders.
Okay.
So on off-road day 1, we had Manny in first, Mitch in second. We had Billy in third, Theodore in fourth. We had Alfredo Gomez in fifth. We had Mario Roman in sixth. Wade Young in 7th, Matthew Green in 8th, Thomas Scales in 9th, and in 10th we had... Oh, there was no 10th because there were only 9 FIM riders.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But importantly, 10 points awarded to the top 10.
Yeah, that's true. So those 9 riders get up to basically 10 points.
Yeah, working its way backwards from 10 to 1, from 1 to 10.
Exactly. So first gets 10 points and 9th gets, basically 2 points.
Yeah.
So those are your FIM riders for race day 2. Sorry, race day 1. Heading into race day 2, which is the main race day, I think racing was about 2 hours long. That was the designated time for this. And as we know, a multi-lap race. So the same track, but multiple times.
Yeah. Which made for some seriously good racing.
Yes, it did. It was by far, I think, the most stacked pro class that Silver Kings has had in probably ever. So heading straight into the results, I mean, we can kind of work our way down from there. The winner on day 1 was
None other than
Manuel Littenbechler. He came first on that main race day, I think about 20 seconds ahead of Tristan Hart. So definitely a battle between the two of them. And I think Manny said that they must have changed positions at least 20 to 25 times between him and Tristan on that track.
Yeah, I mean, it's clear just even scrolling YouTube and just like typing in Silver Kings, and like pretty much every second video is Manny passing Tristan, or Tristan passing Manny. It's like the caption or the title that everyone's using. But yeah, it definitely shows how tight that race was between them. Yeah, at the end, you get to see a little bit from Max's footage at the end of the race, kind of getting up that X section or the X loop. Manny just had the gap. It was such a small gap, but he had it. And I just feel like he's so good at managing the race from the front.
Yes.
He puts himself in the right position from the get-go and then just manages it with no effort.
Yeah, that's true. And Tristan, but he did such a solid job anyway. You know, like he had such a good race day, a race weekend, I would say. I mean, he definitely said it wasn't necessarily easy. It was definitely a challenging race and a race that he knows quite well. But to have him come in second, I mean, it's pretty cool. He said to have KTM first and second at Silver Kings. It came down really to that final hill, and he said that he had a good line, but Manny had a good line, but he had one that didn't quite work out the way he was expecting it to. So he said it's probably the most okay he's ever been with a P2.
Yeah, that's cool to hear. I mean, after Erzberg in Austria, you could see that he was just visibly frustrated with that finish. So coming to basically his home race, it's good to hear that he's content with, his performance. Because at the end of the day, Manny's riding amazingly.
Yes.
You can't fault the guy at the moment.
No.
So, if you just give it your 100%, give it your best, and you're happy with that at the end of it, then, that's a good job, I think.
Yeah, I think if it just comes down to like, a line choice, it just didn't work out, but I tried my best. Like, that's a better way to go than, for example, with Erzberg, where you're losing like parts of your bike and you can't actually get to the finish because of bike issues. Kind
exactly,
of thing.
a good point.
It's rather you've done everything you can and that's just racing than, I had bike technical issues and then it like affected racing, right?
Good point. And then moving on to the next finishes, and this is where it gets a bit controversial. So what you see on paper and what you actually saw at the event or on, like, let's say broadcast or finish are different. So we saw Mario and Wade battling literally to the last 5 meters. They were neck and neck fighting for podium in their eyes. And it was Mario that came out with the third place in that finishing order, I'd say.
Yeah, so on paper, we have Wade in third.
Right. Okay.
So Wade came third on the day. Mario came fourth on the day. But on paper, Mario doesn't come in on fourth. No, actually, you're right.
No, I'm right.
You're right.
Yeah.
You're right.
No,
Sorry.
I'm right.
You're right. Wade crosses the line. Wade comes in third. No.
No, that's not right. Mario crosses the line, then Wade follows about not even 10 seconds behind, 15 seconds behind, and then behind that we had
Mitch Brightmore.
On racing, it actually wasn't Mitch. It was Ryder LeBlond, I think, was there, and then Theodor Kabachiev. Oh, it was Will Royden. Actually, Will Royden came in at fifth on the ground, and then it was Theodor Kabachiev, and no Mitch at that point.
So confusing, right?
A little bit.
It's when you see it, when you're there, when you see it, when the riders are coming in, you're like, okay, this is the order. But then when you're actually looking at the results, it's totally different.
Well, it shouldn't be too different because it is start to finish, flag to flag racing. So to ever finishes first wins type of vibe. We'll get into the controversy. Well, what actually is the finishing result?
So Wade is in third, Mitch is in fourth, and Mario is in fifth.
On finishing on the day.
Yeah, so if you're looking here at the overall results, we have Manny in first, Tristan in second, Mitch in third, Wade in fourth, Mario fifth, Theodore sixth, Billy Bolt seventh, Ryder LeBlanc eighth, Will Royden ninth, and Alfredo Gomez 10th.
Okay, and that's overall.
And that is the overall points, but this is where the complication and the confusion comes in. If you look on the official results, it says here, checkpoint Kingslayer, the finish is cancelled. Results are based off of the last checkpoint, which was correctly passed by all riders.
Okay. So that then
is where the controversy comes in.
and clears up also our misunderstanding.
Exactly.
Because I was watching the finish line at the top of the hill at the end of X.
Not the
group,
last
or
checkpoint.
The X hill. Yeah, not the last checkpoint. Okay, that makes sense now.
Yes, that's why there's so much.
Well, why?
Okay, well,
what's the why?
My understanding is that Mitch was basically guarded into the wrong place by a marshal. And so he basically missed the last X section, or he didn't go into the last X section. So he made a mistake, but it wasn't necessarily his fault. It was a marshal's fault.
Right.
So he ended up not finishing in third, obviously, but because of this like issue with the checkpoints, the organizers decided that they would cancel the finish and take the results based off of the last checkpoint, which means that Mitch ended up finishing ahead of Mario.
Okay, for the day or for overall?
For the overall.
Okay.
For the overall, Mitch is in third. Mario was in fifth. And Wade, because he finished third, technically on that last day,
Right.
it pushed him up into the overall fourth position.
Quite confusing.
Very, very confusing.
Very confusing. Okay,
I'm
so
not gonna lie. It definitely makes things a little like, I don't understand. I think if the race had gone to plan, put it this way, and everyone had finished and the finish was where they finished and not the last checkpoint, then it would have been pretty straightforward. But it does, cancelling that last checkpoint does make things a little bit more complicated and a bit of a hassle to try and figure it out. But there are, official points like you can see where everyone is technically officially standing.
I think Mario was a bit upset about this, understandably, because he lost a position, lost
Definitely.
the podium at the end of the day. So it's not Mitch's fault, I don't think.
I agree. I don't
It's-
think it's his fault.
The marshal guarded him like when someone in a bib that says, Silver Kings on it and says, go this way, you follow what he says.
True.
Especially if there's no GPS or, nothing other, like telling you in other direction, then you follow the marshal. So,
Yeah.
he just follows directions, unfortunately. But yeah, it's difficult to dock everyone else because of that. On a fairness note, though, Mitch was in front and most probably would have finished in front anyways.
Yes.
So, yeah. But Mitch is riding flipping phenomenally. He's honestly doing so well and super stoked to see that.
Yeah, I'm really happy to see him actually really battling with those top guys, really showing them that, hey, I might be a junior. I've just come into, this pro category.
Yeah.
Haven't been here for very long, but you better watch your back.
Yeah, he even says in the press conference, only been racing hard enduro now for 4 or 5 years.
Right.
Professionally, maybe 2 or
2,
3, and
I
he's
would
got a
say
world
2.
championship already in juniors hard enduro and inside super enduro. Yeah, bro, the guy's got some, and X-Trip's really lucky to have him, I must be honest as well.
I agree. I think that they made a really good jump at those two juniors.
Gamble,
the Red Bull.
right? Because that's what it is, right? It's like
True.
an investment,
A calculated investment,
Yeah,
I
I
would say.
calculated for sure. So then that pretty much wraps up the race. Can you go through the top 10 for overall for us, please? To all riders, not FIM riders only.
So for the overall results for this event, we've got Manuel Littenbecher in first, Tristan Hart second, Mitch Bartmore third, Wade Young fourth, Mario Roman fifth, Theodor Kabatchev sixth, Billy Bolt seventh, Ryder LeBlanc eighth, Will Reuter ninth, and Alfredo Gomez in 10th.
Yeah, and then also Cody with that 4-stroke in
Cody
11th.
in 11th.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Really cool to see. And how does this affect the FIM Hard Enduro Championship standings?
Great question. So, as I said, we've got obviously bonus points for day 1 and bonus points for day 2, and we have our overall points. So the way that it's standing based off of this race, we have Manuel Littenbecher in first with 64 points.
Okay.
This is now based off of Valleys and Silver Kings.
Okay.
He's in 64 points. In second, we have Mitch Brightmore with only 46.
Wow,
So
big
there's
jump
a
already.
very big jump, almost 20 points difference between them, and it's only 2 races.
That said, though, the next race is going to be a one-day format.
Yes.
So not as much points up for grabs there. unfortunately.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. So it's difficult for riders if you don't do well on a multi-day race, it's difficult for you to catch up.
Lots to lose,
Lots to lose.
but lots to gain as well.
That's true. That's true. So, okay, we have Manny in first with 64, Mitch in second with 46, Billy in third with 43, Theodore in fourth with 39, Wade in fifth with also 39. So Theodore and Wade are now tied.
Oh, the battle.
Oh, there it is. And only 1 point behind in sixth is Mario Roman with 38.
Real.
So there's definitely a battle for fourth, fifth, and sixth. Those three are definitely close within their points. Then in seventh is Alfredo Gomez with 27. Matthew Green is in eighth with 20. Thomas Scales in 9 with 18 points. Ashton Brightmore in 10th with 11 points. Radva Chug in 11th with 5 points. James Moore in 12th with 4 points. Sandra Gomez in 13th with 3 points. Dan Mandel in 14th with 2 points. And that's basically the top riders in the pro class.
Awesome. Really stacked. I mean, so cool to see all different riders from all different parts of the world, and also having a lady rider there.
Yeah.
Thomas Scales, notable, top 10. Get him, boy.
Right?
Boca.
Definitely coming out of left field, that's for sure.
Yeah, that's awesome to see us another SA flag running high there.
Yeah, absolutely. So that kind of sums up what we're looking at with regards to Silver Kings, what's happened basically over the last 2 FIM events.
Right. How does this affect our podcast rating system? Well, the World Hard Enduro ranking system, which we developed for you guys, by us, just for a fun way of tracking what is going on in the world of hard enduro. This takes into account not only these international races as tier 1 races, but also national races from different countries. And truly tries to put all hard enduro riders that are consistently racing on a spreadsheet and showing you where they've actually ranked with the amount of races that they've scored points in.
Based off of the 18th of June, so this is after Silver Kings, there's been a lot of races that have happened basically in May and the beginning of June. There's a lot going on. So we have quite a few changes with regards to where riders are standing. But staying in first, we have Tristan Hart. With 525 points. And then in second, we have Mauro Raman, which has 379 points. And then jumping up quite a few positions, we have Manuel Littenbichler now in third with 350 points. Then we have fourth is Ryder LeBlond. Then Will Royden dropped a couple positions. In sixth is Theodore Kabachiev. Seventh is Cody Webb. Eighth is Billy Bolt. Ninth is Francis Moret. 10th is Mitch Brightmore, who's also come up quite a few positions. And then that's basically your top 10 with regards to our ranking system currently.
If you want to find out more about how we come up with these points and the tier system, just go ahead over to our website, worldhardenduro.com, where we have a pretty much
it's a PDF and a kind of a template, so you can see not only how we rank the races, but also where all of the riders are and how many points they have. We will be updating it to kind of give you an understanding of where these riders have actually gotten these points and how they've been assigned points. We're working on that and we'll update that on our website soon.
Okay, what can we look forward to? We had second round of the FIM Hard Enduro World Championship done and dusted. What's next?
So what's coming up? We've got quite a few races that you could say are coming up soon. First of all, we have a US Hard Enduro race that's happening this weekend. I think it is round 9, a Donna Hard Enduro. Then we've got some Enduros happening in Romania. We've got some happening in Brazil. We also have the ACU round 5 of their British Hard Enduro or Extreme Enduro happening. That's next weekend. And then we're heading into July. We have an Italian Hard Enduro. We've got another one in Germany, another one in Romania. And then I probably have the biggest one out of July is Red Bull Romaniacs.
Red Bull Romaniacs, tier 1, baby.
Your big one.
Big
It's a standalone now, right? Not part of the championship anymore. So it's its own thing.
Race, yeah.
But I am pretty sure, or pretty much most of the riders are going to be at Romaniacs. It's such an iconic race, and it's it's a big race. It's a big thing.
Completely agree. But I think that wraps it up for us here on episode 50 odd something. And if you listened this far, thank you guys for listening. It would be super helpful if you would share this with your mates. Subscribe if you haven't. Like the video, because that definitely does help us out here.
And please comment what else you would like to see on the podcast. We are more than happy to try and accommodate to our community, what you guys are interested in, who you want on the podcast for us to interview, and anything in between.
Yeah, for sure.
Let us know, and we'll do our best to try and bring to you what you are looking for in the world of hard enduro.